and then they all get liquidated, and then we get to compete for those at the minimum bid of the borrowed amount that made it all net negative. So now we go in there and we pay the minimum bid, and at the very least, we make it all net neutral again. So now all those HSIs now have owners. There may or may not have been some sort of competition that happened between some of those HSIs that caused for more Hedron to be burned in the winning of those liquidations, and only the winning bids are burned. So there's so many different variables of things that can happen during this process because there's so many HSIs that are out there. It's, you're gonna have to manage gas, you're gonna have to manage which ones you're going for, you're gonna have to manage what you value those HSIs are when you do decide to go bid. That's different. Using that buyback function and selling it to the contract where it does all these things is different than you as the individual using the borrow function on your own. Because when you just use the borrow function on your own, you don't get ICOSA, and it's up to you to let it get liquidated or not. And it's probably one of the hardest protocols to actually get liquidated, because you can take 15 years of that borrowed amount and pay off. You don't need 15 years, and you may know that. You can pay off 7 years of that borrow right away, and you've already paid the first 7 years of payment windows on that borrow that you took, like making it even easier for you to make a plan in the next 7 years to cover the rest of the borrow if it was so large that you wanted to do those types of things, right? You can short the market off of just borrowing now, right now. If you saw a huge spike up in Hedron and you knew that the traders are going to come in and sell it back down into liquidity, then you could take a borrow at the top, well, your presumed top, this is risky by the way, take a borrow from the HSI at the top, sell the Hedron for something else, a stable coin or some shit, right? And then watch the price drop down, and then take that stable coin that you had and then rebuy the Hedron again at the bottom, and then pay back the loan and end up with a fuck ton more Hedron in the end result. You can do that now. The protocol allows for you to do that now. You don't need a fiat, you don't need an Aave, you don't need any of those other things. You can short that market now and end up with a hell of a lot more Hedron and build your bag that way if you wanted to do that. And you don't even have to really risk anything, because you have 90 days of figuring out whatever you just did, right? You are risking something, but it gives you so much time to fucking fix your fuck up. So much time. And you only need to make one payment. So if you knew maybe you might fuck up somehow, then when you do take the borrow, pay off like a year or two of the window right off the bat, and then go risk the rest of whatever you had, trying to short the market or some shit like this. Like, you can mitigate some of your risk. And I know I'm going into a lot of theory and a lot of stuff here, but all this stuff is absolutely realistic and completely capable and possible for you to do right now.
Yeah, I got that part. I do get that part. Yeah, I do think it's risky, because if the price of Hedron fucking runs on you and you're not at least and all of a sudden you gotta pay that shit back in Hedron terms, and you cash that shit out at freaking when it's 0.00035 or whatever the hell it's at, and then all of a sudden it's freaking a penny, in 7 years you're gonna go, oh fuck,
Yep.
trying to buy that Hedron back to pay that back, fucking never happened,
Right.
But
yeah,
I do hear you.
You have less of a bunch of people watching like a protocol that does that, like an Aave or something like that, right? Where everybody's kind of hunting and watching for a bunch of shorts to come in so they can just kind of raise the price on them and wreck them all at the same time. You know what I mean? Increase the stakers rewards by just having the whales do that shit to people. You don't have like that here in Hedron, at least. You don't have like a bunch of hawks watching all those types of things that are happening. And then moving the market against you intentionally. There's not even enough people doing that type of thing to, to warrant like anyone watching and paying any attention to that shit, to know even what the fuck you're really doing, right? And so you see borrows happening every once in a while too, and that would be the reasons why. So I mean, even just having the HSIs not using the buyback function, like, I would understand why people would want to have HSIs in their war bag, at least, right? But being able to have like a collection of your own and then buy a bunch more at cheaper discounts while people aren't really sure what the hell they are, but we know what these values are, then it might be encouraging to participate. And I would watch your gas. right? Pay attention to gas that you have at the time so you can continue to keep participating. And I mean that because it's not like it's a one-day event. There's like a lot of time. There's a lot of HSIs that are coming in, and you're going to have a lot of opportunities throughout the next couple nights.
Hex said maybe this is the